morning, everybody. It's very quiet. It shouldn't be quiet. It's the first day of school. Come on. There we go. Woo! 2K16. Am I right? Okay. Cool. So I just like to start off by having you imagine a cobra, a big, black, scary snake. Okay, it's living in a tree in the middle of the desert. And every day, this cobra comes down from his tree and goes over to an anthill nearby. And it eats all the ants around that come out of the anthill until it's fairly full, I would say. And then it goes back up to its tree and it goes right back to sleep. And that's what it continues day after day. And one day it decides, I want to find out what's inside the anthill. So he decides to go down and he goes inside the anthill and there are thousands of ants. And he's like, sweet, it's a buffet, way cool, right? And then all of the ants attack him and they overcome the snake. And that's just showing that when we work together, we can overcome a big foe. And yeah, so my name is Madison Johnson. I'll be the vice president this year. And I love sports. I love playing every sport known to man except for golf. That's the exception to the rule. And I also love music as well. I play the guitar and piano. And I also enjoy long romantic walks to the fridge, in case you were wondering that. And this is Jens.
I'm Jens Jorgensen. I'm the student body president this year. I enjoy playing all the sports, even golf, for you that like golf. So, this year, for our theme, we chose I Choose. That, you guys know, is the theme from last year, but it really worked out well, so we figured we could keep it, but then add a little more. So we chose to add a theme for the whole year. So I choose unity. And then for each term we have a different theme. The first one is friendship. The second one is gratitude. The third one is positivity. And the fourth one is patience. So let me just tell you a little bit about friendship right now. So there was a 24-year-old boy on a train. As he was looking out the window, he was just, Dad, look, there's trees going by. And his dad smiled and looked at him. But there's a couple nearby that kind of looked at him like, yeah, there's trees. Then he looked up again and said, Dad, look, the clouds are running with us. His dad just smiled and laughed with him. But the couple couldn't resist and said, why don't you take your son to a good doctor? The old man smiled and said, I did. We are just coming back from the hospital. He has been blind since birth, and this is the first time he's been able to see. So this just shows that every single person has a story. Every person has something unique to themselves. And before we go and judge and think of them in a way that's not true, to first become friends or learn about them, figure out what is their story. So that's why we chose friendship, because it'll help us become unified.
And so one thing that was awesome, Josh Sperry, give a big round to him. He has been so one thing he did that I'm so glad he did, because I would have totally forgotten. He made these little cards. Oh, I don't have them with me. They're going to be little icebreaker cards. We're going to put them on the lunch tables at lunch. So we just invite you to go and sit by somebody you haven't talked to before. There's going to be those cards where you can ask questions. It'll just get a conversation going. Get it so you can get to know some new people and make some new friends this first term. That's just kind of our big ideal this term, is to try and make some new friends. Okay, and then our second theme, so the theme for second term is gratitude. So we all know that is when the holidays are coming up, Thanksgiving, Christmas, so we need to be grateful. So there's just a little thought I'd like to share on that. So there was this little boy back in the 1920s, and he went into a little coffee shop to get some ice cream. And so he sat down at a table all by himself, and the waitress came up to him and said, what can I get you? And he says, how much is it for an ice cream sundae? And she says, it's 50 cents. That was back when everything was cheap. And so he says, okay, so how much is it for just plain ice cream? And she says, it's 35 cents. And so he pulls out all of his coins and he looks through his coins and he says, okay, I'll have the plain ice cream. She says, okay. And then he hands her the 35 cents and she walks away and she continues to wait tables. And then she comes back later and sees his empty ice cream dish, and right next to it is 15 cents, her tip. So that's just a big way that I've noticed we need to be grateful in everything we do, even when it's not around the holidays. But we chose this ideal in student government. We all voted on this and decided this would be a good ideal for second term. just so that we can remember to be grateful in all things.
So for third term, like everyone in school knows, is kind of that really long term that everyone hates. So, as a student government, we decided that we want the theme to be positivity. And just another thought about that. In ancient times, there was a road. On that road, there's a big boulder. And as all the common people walked by, they all started blaming their king loudly. Why won't he move it? Why doesn't he take care of his people? And then one peasant with a load of vegetables comes walking by, looks at the boulder, puts his vegetables down, and after lots of pushing, he moves it out of the road. Underneath it, there's a bag of gold for whoever moved the boulder. This shows us that through positivity, through looking at a situation in your life and deciding to do something about it, to not just grumble and complain about, oh, look at how much homework we have, oh, look how busy we are. Just go and do something about it and good things will come out of it. So that's why we chose positivity.
All right, so our last theme. Everybody imagine fourth term. We're all sitting there. Summer is just in reach, and we need to be patient and wait, because it'll be good. Summer will be good. Believe me, I know. But we just need to be patient, push through. We can get through everything. Yeah, there we go. These are the pictures we took with student government. So this is term 4, patience. And I just like to tell a little quick story on that. So this, there was this little boy, and he loved science class. He would go to science class every day, and he would just sit there and soak up everything that the teacher taught him. And one day the teacher came in with a handful of sunflower seeds, and he says, "Sweet, I love sunflower seeds." Well, I mean, sunflower seeds are pretty good. And so he hands out a sunflower seed to each of the kids, and then he gives them a little pot with a little bit of soil in it. It says, "We're gonna grow some sunflowers." And the little boy goes, "Awesome, then I can have my own sunflower seeds." So they all plant their little sunflower, and then they water it a little bit. He comes back the next day in science class to see if it's grown any sunflower seeds. But it just barely has a little tiny sprout. And he's, oh no, great, this is gonna take forever, right? He comes back about 2 or 3 weeks later, and it's sprouted enough that there's just a few little green seeds coming out, but they're not quite ripe. And he goes, awesome, seeds. So he cuts the sunflower, eats the seeds, but they're not ripe, they're not very good. And he asks his teacher, why aren't these seeds good? And he says, you need to be patient, you need to wait until it's ripe for you to eat those seeds. And so luckily when his friends' sunflowers grew about a month later or so, they shared their sunflower seeds with him, and it taught the little boy that he needed to be patient and wait for when it was the right time for him to pick those seeds. So I think we just need to be really, really careful about being patient fourth term, not getting frustrated with our teachers. I know I've done that before. Just working with our teachers, working with our peers, being as kind as we can. And one last thing I'd like to say before I turn the time over to Jens, is just one way for us to be successful this year is to just follow these ideals. We thought about these long and hard. We didn't just pick something from a list. We thought about these things. And if you really try and follow these ideals, then I can guarantee you guys will have a wonderful year this year. And we did pass out those magnets. If some of you didn't get them, then just let us know and we'll get them to you. And it has the ideals on it. Just put that in your locker. Look at it every day. Just remember, today I'm going to make a new friend, or today I'm going to be positive and grateful and patient. And I can promise you it'll be a great year, and you'll be able to influence many, many lives and make many, many friends.
Okay. So just to wrap it up a little bit, we just want to share a little bit more about unity. All these ideals is what will help us have that unity. And unity doesn't mean that we're going to be doing the same thing with everybody over and over again. It means that we all have the same purpose. The purpose to be friendly, grateful, positive, and patient. We all know that school is hard, and high school and middle school are even harder. As we go throughout this year, we want you to think of this quote from President Eyring. It says, "The gift of unity will come through obedience to the laws and ordinances of the gospel of Jesus Christ. When we keep our covenants to take his name upon us, to remember him always, and to keep all his commandments, we will receive the companionship of his Spirit that will soften our hearts and unite us." That's our goal as a student government and as a student body. Let's have a great year.